Hi, I'm Suzanne. I'm a local. Hope y'all are. I grew up here, actually. I grew up just on the other side of Rutherford County. So you may be able to tell that if you're not from here. Y'all got the accent, not me. But I've got several generations of family here, and I grew up just in a garden, on a farm. My grandparents were old Appalachian people. I was actually in the first generation born in a hospital in my family, so we've just been here for eons, it seems. My great-grandmother was a root digger, and that was a person who dug roots and sold herbs to support the family back around the turn of the century. Unfortunately, that information didn't get passed on, except incidentally. My grandmother, when I grew up, knew a little bit, or it just was there. So I didn't think about it that much. But when I grew up and my son was born, something would happen. I would call my mother and say, "Mama, Andy's crying. What do I do about this?" And she'd say, "Well, let me call Mama." And my grandmother would wind up calling me, and she'd say in her voice, "Honey, you go out there and get you that there, whatever plant, and you put it in his, ain't gonna hurt him." So, and when I think of her, I speak in her voice. But, and it would work. The plants that she would tell me would work. So I began it fascinated me at that point. And okay, maybe we can in just a minute have some pictures. But at that point, I began a formal education into herbalism, nutrition, and wild foods. There was always some type of wild foods, whether it was poke salad, collards that just grew, dandelion greens, all of those things. And my grandmother would tell us about having to pick those back during the Depression, which kept a lot of Southern people alive during the Depression. Poke salad, and I could teach a whole class on poke salad because I eat it all the time, no matter how big it is. Yes, you can eat the berries. The root is highly toxic, but the plant does have to be respected. You don't just go out there and grab a leaf and make a salad. It's a salad, S-A-L-E-T, salad, which is French for cooked green. You don't eat it in a salad, S-A-L-A-D, cold greens, cold raw greens. So it does have to be respected, but it's a wonderful plant, and I encourage everyone to do a little study deeper than the first internet search that says, "Don't touch it because it's going to grab your children and you'll never see them again." You'd be amazed at the stuff, at the things that plant has been told or has been talked about. So, but a little bit more about me personally. I am the owner of Simple Homestead Living. That's my website, simplehomesteadliving.com. My farm is Birchwater Farm, and my line of herbal tinctures, remedies, and herbs to sell are Birchwater Farm. I'm also the creator of Go Forage Games, which is the first game was a game played like Go Fish, but it's a botanical game, and then also botanical bingos called Go Bingo, and I have botany bingo, mushroom bingo, tree bingo, herbal bingo, and you learn a ton of information with those. I've been picked up by 3 homeschool groups. Even though I made them for adults, I've been picked up by homeschool groups, and they are so far loving it. So what I thought we would do is I just kind of, in the humidity this morning, I went around my yard and just grabbed up things that I thought you would be interested in, that you've probably seen on a daily basis as a gardener, as someone who takes care of their lawn in any way. You may be trying to get rid of these, but I thought I would let you know how medicinal or edible they are. So, and by the way, this is my book. That's my first book. The second book is coming out next month, and it's about 300 recipes for wild foods, and the plants included in there. I'll give a little synopsis about each plant, and then we talk about poke salad casserole, or bacon wrapped poke shoots, or milkweed shoots, or We use lots of bacon. So there's just a ton of recipes, pestos, anything like that that you can think of, and ways to use it. A lot of traditional cooking, as well as a little bit of haute cuisine and other things as well. So let's start with this big pretty one here. And since we've already got a little bit of the thing over here, I'll come closer where y'all can see. And I'm going to kind of pull these out. I'll be glad to pass them around. I'll tell you if you can taste it or if it's going to reach out and kill you. It won't reach out. But the first question people will say is, I don't know where to get started. How do you know what plants are edible? How did you learn the difference in tomatoes and corn? Same principle. You learn the characteristics of the plant one at a time, and you go from there. For example, this is the first one that I'll talk to about wild edible food. Everybody know what this is? Not a Shasta daisy, but an oxeye daisy. Who's got a field of those growing near them?
How do you spell that?
Most everybody, right? Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Oxeye, O-X-E-Y-E, daisy. And this one has white petal rays around the center ray, the yellow ray. It's entirely edible, this plant. Who knew, right? This one you may want to, you don't want to just munch down on a whole salad of it. You can sprinkle it into a salad because it does have a little bit of oxalic acid, which is why it's called oxeye daisy, not because it looks like an oxeye, but because it has oxalic acid in it. Oxalic acid is a building block for kidney stones. So some greens, some wild foods, if you are prone to kidney stones, you may want to limit that. Otherwise, have at it. If your doctor approves, I'm not here to tell anybody that they'll get better or get off of their medicine if they're eating a more healthy diet, but you talk to your doctor about that. But this is oxeye daisy, and how you know the oxeye daisy, this is one of the winter greens in our area because it comes up as a mum. It's in the chrysanthemum family, helichryssis family, excuse me, I think, helichryssis. But it comes up as a mound on the ground, so look for it now and look down on the ground where it makes a green mound. And you can pull these little leaves. Notice the shape of the leaves with the margins on the leaf. If you don't know margins, that's the outside edge of the leaf. But just take a look at these, and so that you can, and look at these leaves so that when you see that mound in the yard, you'll know what they are. That's a good one. So oxeye daisy, you can sprinkle you can pull all the leaves off the stem. You can pull the leaves in the mound down next to the rosette, or you can use the petals. I'm not fond of the yellow part, the yellow ray in the center. It's kind of bitter. But if you were to take and just crumble it up and sprinkle it into a salad, it's wonderful. Sprinkle it on top of cooked greens. It's really good. I've got some more here. We can start on the other side if we need to. But the entire plant is edible. Even the root, although the root may be a little stringy for most tastes, chop it up, put it in a salad, or saute it with other greens as well. So if you haven't been taking advantage of the wildflowers in your yard, that's the number one right there. It's really easy to identify. Most everybody knows what a daisy is. So I like to talk about it. And you're welcome to take pictures of it. I have others here too if you'd like to take another picture. And I'm just going to kind of go on because I got a ton of plants here and I want you to know every one of them. So this plant, it's a little wilted, wilts very easily, so you'll want to cook it as soon as you get it in, or put it in water as soon as you get it in. This plant is called sochan, cut leaf coneflower, green head coneflower. You may have them. It's in the sunflower family. Get another one here. I think I have two. This one's in the sunflower family. You'll know this plant because of the like the celery-like pattern. If you look at the stem directly, you can tell it's got the concave section or the concave center. So it does like this in the center, like a stalk of celery. It actually grows in a rosette, similar to a celery, except it will spread. I have one patch that's about as big as this table, and I've only had it 3 or 4 years. but I'll propagate it everywhere because this is such an edible green. This plant has a wonderful Native American history simply because this was one of the staples for the Native Americans, specifically the Cherokee, that were here back a couple centuries ago. This plant was their staple food, and they actually have rights to go and harvest it at any time without a permit, where the average person would have to get a permit to harvest on federal lands, or it's a hefty fine. You all may know about that if you're harvesting on federal lands. It's pretty hefty. You can't get permits, and I always forget if it's a permit on federal or a permit on state. One or the other will allow you on state lands to get the permit, but the Cherokee Nation does have rights to harvest that at any time. It's a wonderful cooked green. I make pesto with it. The pesto is fabulous, especially if you're putting something like lemon balm in it. And do never make a pesto with just all lemon balm. It tastes like lemon pledge. It's awful. I was so proud of my lemon balm. It's a huge, big lemon balm. Now I'm plucking the tops. Y'all know how to pluck mints, right? To pinch them back, pinch the tops off. Oh yeah, I had to pick the big basket. I'm going to go and make me some lemon balm pesto. Oh, you would have thought I would just spray lemon pledge in my mouth. It was awful. But lemon balm is very good as just a little bit of a sprig, maybe 3 or 4 sprigs, maybe 3 or 4 tops in any other type of pesto. My favorite pesto is something I don't have today, and it's daylily. The entire ditch lily, the orange ditch lily, the entire plant is edible. It's one of the survival foods that I strongly suggest. I talk to a lot of prepper groups and survivalist groups. I just got back from Ohio and talked to a bushcrafter group of people. There were about 2,000 people there this weekend, and we drove back yesterday. And but I had 4 classes there, and we talked about a lot of survival food. If things take a turn for the worse, we're already seeing some issues without getting into politics. We all know that grocery prices are going up, right? So if things get hard, there are certain plants that I encourage a lot of people to have in their yard, and ditch lily is one of those. Comes up very early in this area, lasts till late in the season, in the fall, and the entire plant is edible. Even in the winter, you have the white roots. The tubers are very edible, have the texture of a potato, but they're a little bit sweeter. So if you know where your ditch lilies are, you can dig those up, toast them up, roast them up, eat them raw. I like them raw because they're crunchy. But they're wonderful, so that's a sustainable food for you and your family. And if you're looking to do something wild, I eat something wild every day. It's just a habit. And there's a lot of days I'll go and get ditch lilies just because I have a big patch of them in my yard. All right, does anybody recognize this one? This, boy, it is potent too. I smell it. This one is not so much edible, but we do make a drink with it. This is a mugwort, but this specifically is Artemisia absinthium. Does that sound familiar? Absinthium being absinthe. This is what the absinthe drink is made, Van Gogh and the ear thing. Okay, well that's the absinthe that he makes. Now if I smell too much of that, it'll give me a really bad headache. But I'm very sensitive to things like holy basil. If anybody's growing holy basil, I can't tolerate that simply because it's such a strong odor. I'm very sensitive. I don't know where I get it from. But there are a few herbs that I just simply can't tolerate because of the fragrance, the volatile oils. But that one is very good as a drink, as a beverage, for wintertime flus or other issues that we have recently. With the deep lung issue, the lung inflammation, that plant is wonderful as a dark, rich tea to help break that up and to lessen the inflammation in the lungs. So I have it growing. It's slightly prolific, highly prolific, slightly invasive, I would say, but it's only a biennial typically. It can come back a third year, but it doesn't change from its actual nature. You know, like most biennials will have a rosette, like mullein plant has a rosette the first year, and then the second year it sends up the tall stalk, and then it dies away. But you can have a third year on mugwort. There's another mugwort as well that's common in this area that's actually a native, and it's Absinthe, Artemisia annua. Artemisia annua is sweet Annie. If y'all are familiar with sweet Annie, has a wonderful fragrance.
Is it a broader, dark, like different color green?
Different color green, and it's tall.
Like hand shapes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of. All right, let's see what else we have. This is a medicinal, and to give you a hint of this one, if you look at the leaf, you can pull the leaf off. There's plenty of leaves, I believe, and look really closely at the leaves. There's tiny perforations. Perforata happens to be the variety name. Is anybody familiar? This is Hypericum perforata, St. John's wort.
Oh.
This is St. John's wort. Now the yellow flowers that come up have 5 petals. This is wonderful for stress-related issues, for anxiety, the stress that could come with overwork, overtired, head stress, you know, where you just have that tension headache. It's really good for easing that, for help, for assisting sleep, but you do not want to take this if you're taking an antidepressant. No St. John's wort if you're taking an antidepressant. But to me, the flowers, this actual tip here looks like the flower. Unfortunately, it's not in bloom yet, but the flowers are buttery yellow, little bitty, about that big like that, and they have 5 petals. But if you'll crush those flowers in your finger, they're a buttery bright yellow. But if you crush those, it'll be a deep, dark red oil that's exuded out of it, and that way you know it's Hypericum perforatum. And one other way to tell that is the little oil glands that I was just telling you about that look like perforations. It looks like little holes. So pull a leaf, look at it at the light, and get an idea of how that is. And that you can feel the oil in that leaf too. After you hold it up, just crush it in your hands. It won't turn red like the flower will, but you'll be able to see those and feel that oil. Wonderful for muscle aches. That volatile oil that's in there is wonderful for achy joints, muscle aches, back aches, specifically. And what I like to put with that is, you may have this in your garden, is Solomon seal. If you're familiar with Solomon seal, not false Solomon seal, I have this little poem, little rhyme about how to tell the difference in Solomon seal and false Solomon seal. False Solomon seal is boastful and showy, and it puts its flower out on the tip. You know, Solomon seal is a very graceful plant. If you're not familiar, it just kind of lays over like this. And it's in the Polygonum family, so it kind of looks like a little bamboo, not the leaf shape, but the stem itself, because you can see the joints in it like that. False Solomon seal is very showy. It's out on the end, and it wants you to think that it's Solomon seal, but true Solomon seal is very shy, hides its blossoms and berries underneath the stem, so you can barely see them. You really have to pick it up and look for them, or be in the right place to see them, because it will hide them. But the false Solomon seal is showy. So, all right, let's see what else we have. Does anybody know what this is? That's not a wild onion, but it's in the allium family, so you're very close. This is a garlic from my garden, not wild, but it is the domestic. This is the scape. Everybody's familiar with scapes, right? This is, you can kind of poke this one and smell it. The best part to me is the scape, and I have probably 1,000 garlic plants. Wow. And I get 5 harvests off my garlic, and I never harvest the bulb. So how I do that is, I should have picked some of the leaves. Some of the leaves on my garlic plants will get this long. It's a hard neck or a soft neck. I have different varieties. And I'll often buy one bulb of a different variety and just plant it in my garden, and then I never harvest the bulb. I just keep continually spread it. And you'll go out here smelling like onions or garlic. But the 5 harvests are the leaves. Now, unfortunately, the leaves are connected to a clove, just like each silk on an ear of corn is connected to a kernel. So if you damage that or you break that leaf, you're going to affect the clove. So that's why I don't harvest the bulb. Now, some bulbs I do harvest. I want the bulb, but I want much more garlic, so I take advantage of the entire plant. So I'll harvest the leaves. I'll come in and harvest one a week or so. I'll just go down there and clip off one leaf, and I'll process that usually by fermenting it. And I teach a fermenting class too, and I have another book that is just a fermenting book. But I'll ferment those for seasoning or to put into other dishes, what have you, into salads. I'll sprinkle it into salad dressings and things. So the leaf, and then next week I'll come back and get more leaves and more leaves until just about the whole plant is gone. The stem, the scape comes out after the leaf. So you go the leaf, the scape. I'll leave some scapes to open so I can get the bulbils inside the scape. And then I come back and get the stem. And then, if I want to, I'll harvest the bulb. So was that 5? And I'll leave some bulbils to go to seed. Garlic grown from seed takes about 3 years to produce. So if I leave that bulb in the ground, the next spring, there'll be 20 shooting up out of it, and then I can scatter them. And garlic is a wonderful pest control. If you make a mixture of a couple bulbs of garlic, couple onions, chop them up, skin and all, and put that in a large bucket of water, like a 5-gallon bucket of water, sit it out in the sun and cover it and leave it sit there for a couple weeks till it gets nasty. I mean, grody, it's just really grody. But you can use that as a pest control, and it's wonderful for Japanese beetles. You can spray it all over the plant. You put it in water, like a couple cups of that. You want to spray the soil. You want to,
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, we'll take care of it. You want to spray the soil, spray under the leaves. It takes care of aphids. The Japanese beetles especially, they hate garlic. And I'll take those bulbils that have matured to seed and sprinkle them all through my raspberries. So I have garlic coming up in my raspberries. As a matter of fact, garlic comes up in my entire garden except for beans and peas. Beans and peas just won't tolerate garlic. And I see it a lot on TV, so I wonder if it might tolerate it to a point, but would their production be better if it wasn't planted there? So I don't know. It's not an experiment I've tried yet. Okay, let's see. We've talked about, this one was just pretty. This is medicine for your soul. There is some iris medicine. I don't really follow it, so I haven't really studied it extensively. But there is some root issues that can be taken care of with the root. So we'll just kind of pass that one along just for beauty. But let's see, does anybody know what this one is?
Elderberry?
Elderberry. Exactly right. Very good.
You're awesome.
How did you know this was elderberry?
We grow it in our garden.
But how did you know this was elderberry?
Oh, because the leaves, they just had so many, not lobes, but
It's a compound leaf, you're correct.
a compound leaf. And it wilts pretty much the same
Really
way.
easy, yeah. Elderberry, just as a note, there's more incidences with elderberry syrup than any other plant because it's so prolific. Everybody's doing it. Everybody takes elderberry. Are you taking your elderberry? Oh, I feel like I'm getting sick. I better start taking elderberry. There's about 100 cases a year of elderberry toxicity, meaning they've either taken too much or that it wasn't processed right, or your immune system is just not supporting itself. And by saying that, if you're taking it every single day religiously, you're not doing your immune system a favor because it becomes dependent on the elderberry. What you want to do, in my opinion, and this, I get this from others who've researched it more than I have, but if you take it, say, 5 days, lay off 2, take it 3 days, off 3 days, take it a week, take off a week, but let your immune system depend on itself. So, and if you're making a tincture, if you're familiar with tinctures, I'll be glad to tell you about it later. If you don't make them now, I'll give you a little quick rundown on how to do one. But if you're making a tincture with alcohol, you need to use dried berries, not fresh. The fresh is too toxic from the seed. But if it's dried or cooked in some way, it's fine. But to make a tincture in alcohol, you need to kill some of that, what's the word? Starts with a C. Cyanide. That was not going to come to me. Those seeds do have a cyanide in them. It's a precursor to cyanide. So if you're going to use that as a tincture, you'll want to make sure the berries are dry. So you can just I dry my berries on a big screen. I get them at Habitat, like a patio door screen or a window screen. And then I'll just garble them when they're dry so they come off really easy. I just lay the umbels on the screen, come back, start on that end as a harvest. I'll just fill the screen, and then by the time that end is dry, I'll just come back and garble those on the screen. Very easy to get them off. You can make a bug repellent with the leaves. The leaves of this plant and beautyberry, pine, especially green pine cones. You can put it in either isopropyl alcohol. I tend to not use isopropyl, and I work with about 300 herbs, and I make tinctures of most every one of them, but I tend to not use isopropyl for external, simply because I'm afraid somebody may drink it, may be mistaken and drink it as a tincture. So I'll just go ahead and use 80 proof alcohol, vodka, and make my bug spray. So you can put a few cypress needles or spruce. Violet is another one that can go in there. Elderberry leaf and beautyberry leaf. Really good bug spray. Dog fennel. Everybody know what dog fennel is? Dog fennel is another one that will go in there that will flavor and fragrance the alcohol to stop, to help with bug repellent. Yes, ma'am.
How long do you have to let it sit or ferment or
in the alcohol?
To be.
I've let it go 2 or 3 weeks, or if you're talking about the bug spray.
Bug spray.
Yeah, I've let it go 2 or 3 weeks before I'll start using it. And a lot of times I'll just pour a little off in a spray bottle and just leave it sit, and then I'll just go ahead and start using it. You will have to put it on more often than a commercial product because it doesn't have the accelerators in it, and it doesn't have the preservatives in it. So you want to make sure you have that as at least an 80 proof alcohol.
What's it smell like?
It smells actually pretty fragrant.
Not like vodka?
Not like, well, I mean, you can smell the alcohol, and it evaporates, but the fragrance that it leaves on your skin is a little bit citrusy. You can add orange peel to that too as well. Lemon balm can go in there, so all of these fragrances will smell, and we'll just kind of add to it. I believe this just went out.
You're good.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. So it'll have that fragrance, just an herby fragrance, but it's really nice, pleasant. I like it, and I use it a lot, and I'll just stick it in my apron and reapply it. Sometimes I have to reapply it every 30 minutes because I will be your best insect repellent. Really, and you can watch them. They'll just fly right past people to come land on me. They really will. People have laughed at that so many times.
I have another question.
Yes.
So you can add the green pine cones, cypress, and beautyberry and lemon balm all together, or one, or just all together?
I just put it in a big jar, like a big 2-quart jar. Stuff it with as many things as I'm going to put in there, and I may put 10 in there. I may put 5, just depends on what I have harvested, and then I'll come back and add something later. And it works for me, and I am a bug magnet. the little no-see-ums.
But you can't use witch hazel.
You can use witch hazel. Witch hazel is alcohol-based. If you're getting a commercial witch hazel, it's alcohol-based. So it's still an isopropyl alcohol. But because it looks, my labels in the bottle looks the same, if I sell that product and somebody drinks it, it's going to have isopropyl alcohol in it. So that's why I don't use the isopropyl in my external. But you can use isopropyl all day long, or you can use witch hazel. You can make your own witch hazel too. Did y'all know that the witch hazel, or that hazel leaves, and I think this is so cool, you know, a leaf will look something like this, but witch hazels will always be odd on one side. The leaves, if you were to fold it in half, they won't match. It's so cool. So, all right, this is not just for beauty or fragrance. This is actually medicine. Peonies are medicinal. They are used for certain types of inflammation. The root is, the petal second, but especially women's issues, inflammation which is a cause of pain. Women's issues, it has been known to start menstruation. It's also an abortifacient, so be very careful. Pregnant women do not need to use it or even trim peonies because it could cause that spasm. But it's really good for certain types of pain. It's been used for epilepsy and spasmodic conditions like an epileptic seizure or other types of seizures. It's not a beginner level, not one that I would suggest you start with if you're just starting to dabble in herbalism and want to learn more. Reserve that one for a little while down the road and concentrate on things that will really benefit you now, because I still go back and hit the books every time I use it simply because it can be a little bit of an issue. And I don't sell that one to the public. Like when I go to a show, like last week, I'll take a whole line of tinctures and remedies with me, but I don't take that one because I want to monitor that person a little better. As a clinical herbalist, I would rather monitor them and know how much they're taking, so we have a lot of contact. Okay, let's see. I believe that's everything in this jar. Oh, no, here's one. You probably have this in your garden, and you've probably cursed it. It's a little wilted. It wilted, I mean, even as I pulled it up out of the ground, but you can see that it has a little pod there, or a little bud. You know what that is? If y'all can see it, that's Carolina geranium. And you've probably pulled it out of your yard. It's highly medicinal for liver. It's very astringent. What will astringents do? They tighten tissues. Astringents work really well on things like loose gums, digestive issues, hemorrhoids, when you have those inflamed tissues and you really need to cool them and tighten that tissue back down from the inflammation. Carolina geranium is really good in a mixture of other herbs for that. White oak bark is also an astringent, and it's going to tighten tissues. And anytime I use an antibacterial herb, I always put an astringent with it, simply because if you have a scrape, you know, if your kid comes to you with a scraped elbow or something of that nature, and you see that rough, jagged skin, you want to put the antibacterial on that, the antibacterial herb that has that effect in the body, plus that astringent to help tighten that tissue. And that could be a tea or a fomentation or an infusion, which would be stronger than a tea. So I would just put, as my grandmother would say, a big gob of that herb, just a big gob in my pot, and simmer that for a few minutes in maybe a quart of water. And then I would take a cloth and make a compress and put that on the scraped elbow or the scraped knee, or even a cut. You just don't want to use it on a deep cut. And why would that be? Those tissues will heal over the top and leave that infection or leave that wound in the middle. Are y'all squeamish? Okay, if I tell you some details, okay. I always ask, because somebody will say, I don't want to hear it, and that's usually me. But one day I did two things that I never, can't say never, right? Never do. And that's put broken glass in the top of my trash can and then go back later and mash down on the trash in my trash can. I never mash my trash down. Guess what I did that day? I did, and as soon as I felt it, I was like, oh no. Pulled my hand out and looked, and I had just about filleted the back of one of my fingers. I know it's awful, isn't it? I think about it now. Well, I pulled the skin back over, wrapped it up tight, not tight, but firmly, and went and got plantain and comfrey with an astringent. Comfrey, everybody knows comfrey, right? Comfrey is extremely fast healing. So what did I do? I had that skin or that place wrapped up, and you can even see it, it's still there. But had a tight bandage around it, and I just started wetting that bandage with that comfrey and plantain and white oak bark. By that evening, when I took that Band-Aid off, after I had cleaned it, you know, and came back, and I took that Band-Aid off, went about my day, hurt like the dickens, took that bandage off, and it was tightly healed on the outside, and there was no pulling that skin away, and I had not really cleaned it underneath. So it took about 2 months. I thought I was going to have to go to the ER or to a doctor and have it lanced because it stayed real puffy, about like that, for about 2 months. But I kept putting the stuff on it that I was using, and now I just have a very small scar that you can't see, but I thought it did cut it down to the knuckle. So comfrey is one that I suggest everybody grow on your property for healing, not only healing, but for a mineral fertilizer. It's wonderful. You just take the leaves and lay them down as a mulch. Beautiful mulch, green mulch. Works so well and is so plentiful, so beneficial for the garden. All right, so that's comfrey. Plantain is wonderful. Everybody knows what plantain is, right? Not the banana.
Yeah, there's English and American or something.
There is. It's actually
Wide leaf.
lance leaf plantain, Plantago lanceolata is the skinny one. I think I have one here. Boy, these wilted fast. I think I have some in here. We'll look at it, but I didn't get the broadleaf plantain. That's the native one, and it's Plantago rugula. And you'll note rugula meaning red, just like Rosa rugosa is that beautiful red rose hip. Makes a big rose hip, but rugula is the red, and it has at the bottom of the stem, like here on the plantain leaf, will be deep purplish red. Well, you'll know that's the native variety. All right, so I went around my yard picking edibles. You know what that is? Hosta. Did you know your hostas are edible? And I'll put it on I think I've put it on this group, our group email, the Facebook, 2 or 3 times. Anybody want to share their hostas? I'll be glad to come and help you divide them because I need more hostas. I have more shade now than I used to, so I'm collecting all kinds of hostas. But they are very edible, wonderful pesto, which means it would be good in a salad as a raw vegetable. You can cook them, the shoots, when they first come up and are still tightly rolled, wrap those bad boys with like you would do asparagus, you know, with bacon, if you eat bacon, or you could turkey bacon, what have you, wonderful one. Chop them up in a salad. They'll be tightly furled, you know, like this. Delicious.
Makes me think of the ostrich fern, the fiddleheads. My
Yeah.
husband was from the north, and he's like all about the fiddleheads. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I planted 21 of them, and like 3 of them survived.
Ostrich ferns?
Yeah, but they're so little, like
Yeah.
you can't really eat them.
They don't really grow here, and we have a lot of cinnamon ferns, and you can get they can make you sick, only because of chemicals that are in it that just don't agree with our constitution. It's not that they're poisonous, they're just toxic. Toxicity is in the dose. So you can have a tiny little bit of anything, and every mushroom is edible once. So, I'm a certified mushroom forager, and that's not something I came up with. I wish I had. But, all right, does anybody know what this is? Like cheese?
Oh, catchweed?
Catchweed, goosefoot, not goosefoot, I'm sorry, this is not goosefoot.
It's not that straw. is it?
That's straw.
Well, bed straw is a look-alike, but, the how rough that is.
Oh, yeah.
That
Oh,
is
boy.
cleavers. Cleavers. This is very edible if you'll feel it. It's got a square stem. It's got that rosette pattern going up the stem. The little balls, the little seed pods are actually a wonderful source of caffeine for coffee. But it would take days to get enough to make one cup. You'd have to have a pretty big patch to get enough caffeine to make a difference. Yes, dear.
Is it at all related to mint?
No, but it does have a square stem. Good point. Does anybody know how to recognize, if you were out in the wild and you walked up on this plant, how would you know that plant is in the Lamiaceae or mint family? So we know there's 5 characteristics, and this young lady just brought one of them up. Square stem, just like this, but if you look at that really closely, you'll see that it's ribbed, that the ribs are making it square. The stem itself is not square. But those 4 ribs make it feel like it makes it square. If you look at it straight on this way, you can see that. But for a Lamiaceae in the mint family, and that could be oregano, that could be downy woodmint, that would be lemon balm, sage, all of these different plants. They'll have a square stem, very square. They will have opposite, meaning north-south, directly across from each other on the stem. And then the next 2 leaves will go east-west, so it's alternate and opposite, dual stem, not a single. If it's a single leaf and it's opposite, if it's alternate, opposite and alternate for a single stem would be like a Jacob's ladder, like this. But because there's 2 leaves in the set, it'll be opposite and alternate, so north, south, east, west, north, south, east, west. Each one of them will be pointed to some degree, and there will be a purple flower that has a fragrance. And that includes things like dead nettle, henbit. All of these Lamiaceae, just about every one of them will have some color of purple for their flower. So those 5, and then the fragrance as well. Also, one that's not a physical characteristic will be that it's a nervine. Every Lamiaceae that I'm aware of, about 2,000 Lamiaceae, is a nervine. Now that could be relaxing, like catnip or lemon balm, or it could be stimulating, like peppermint. So all of those will be some sort of nervine, which will go either way. All right, so I don't think I put enough water in these. These things are really wilting fast. Anybody know what this one is?
Morning primrose?
Evening primrose. Yeah. This is an onifera. This is actually sundrops. I should have started this one good. It's actually sundrops evening primrose. That entire plant is edible, and it's a winter plant because the rosette is a biennial, meaning the second year it sends up a stem. But that first year, you will even find those rosettes under the snow. And if they get frosted or frostbitten, the leaves will turn red. So you may have seen some burgundy there in your garden, and you took and chunked it out. Well, you could have had that for supper. So you'll know this winter. But the second year, it will send up the stem, and it has beautiful little buttery yellow, or bright yellow flowers. The pods, the little pods that are about this big, kind of taste like an okra. The seeds are wonderful for women's health. So the evening primrose oil, I'm sure you've seen that where you put it on your skin, or you can take it. I'll take them and gather the seeds and just pour them into a bottle of olive oil to infuse. It won't be the pressed oil, but I'll just infuse my oil and let it sit, and then as I'm using the oil, a lot of times the seeds will just go into my pan, which is fine. It just gives a little bit of a nutty flavor. You can sprinkle those seeds on top of granola or porridge. I make a 13-grain porridge, and evening primrose, stinging nettle seeds, which, by the way, is a Lamiaceae because the stem is square. And not all plants that have a square stem will be a Lamiaceae, by the way. Yes?
I just have a question. I've seen the evening primrose with yellow blossoms, but then I've seen like at East Harbor the other day, they had one that had pink
Pink.
flowers.
That's a different evening primrose.
But is it kind of in the same?
No, it's not in the
Okay.
same family, it just happens to have that common name,
Oh, okay.
which is a good point, because I know 3 different plants that are called Queen of the Meadow, and one of them is toxic.
Okay.
So, yeah, so if somebody says go get that Queen of the Meadow out there, might be the wrong plant. So that's why the botanical names are important. As bad as we hate to learn Latin, the botanical names, and usually if you think about it, there's a lot of things that will pertain to that plant. Canadensis is actually a native, things like that. Sometimes you'll hear Americana, like Phytolacca americana. That happens to be poke. So there is another poke that's not American or not native to this region, and I can't remember what the second name of it is. But anyway, that
What's
one
the Latin name for primrose?
for primrose is Oenothera, which is Oenethera, I think. This is another one of the Carolina geraniums. This one actually stayed in the water a little bit better, so we'll pass it around too. These are edible, however, I would put it in a bitters formula, which like Swedish bitters, if you've ever heard of Swedish bitters, because this is very astringent and it's considered a bitter. And the reason, I wouldn't just toss it in a salad because it'll make your mouth will be all puckered up like a green persimmon, you know. So that's the astringency in it. However, it would be a very good bitters. So, and I make a tincture for bitters, and you just drop it on your tongue. A lot of people would put their bitters in water and swallow it, but that's kind of defeating the purpose because you want the digestion starts in the mouth. So you want to actually get that taste of bitter. It'll help you kick an addiction to sugar, which it'll help you lessen the sweet desire in your diet, and it will help your digestion, which there's a lot of things that better digestion would help. Skin issues, acne, psoriasis, things like that. If your liver is in better shape, it'll really help those things. Does anybody know what this one is? If you haven't got this in your garden, I'll take a picture. I was going to show y'all. I don't know if it would come out now or not.
I think it's too hard to scroll,
Is
to
it?
get back.
Takes too long?
Yeah.
Well, I took a picture of this. I came back. I've been traveling for 8 weeks, and I was briefly home for a day before I would go back. So I've been to Alabama, Michigan, Ohio, back to North Carolina, Indiana, Kentucky. It's been rough. But I came back and actually looked at some of my beds, and this wasn't there a few weeks ago, and this is what I pulled up. So this is sheep sorrel. If you want to take a little piece of the leaf so that everybody can have a taste, it's citrusy. But it has a lot of oxalic acid in it. So if you have the kidney issue, you'll want to avoid it a little bit. But this happens to be, the root happens to be one of the ingredients of Essiac tea. Have y'all heard of Essiac tea by Renee Case? She made it for I think it was her father, someone that had cancer. And according to her research, Renee Case, Caise, I think it was, he lived quite a long time, much longer than his life expectancy for the type of cancer he had. Yes.
So I have French sorrel.
It's in the same family.
Same family?
In the oxalis family. And then there's also a wood sorrel,
Yellowwood sorrel?
yellow wood
I've got
sorrel,
that at home.
right here, like this. This is just a little one I grabbed up, and they are so tender, they pull the whole root up. But that one as well, that's not a clover. A lot of people think it is a clover because it has the 3 leaves. Both of those are very edible. They're delicious, make a wonderful pesto that you can sprinkle them in. I don't cook those simply because they're so tender. They're really good in a salad.
Yeah.
So is this sorrel and that sorrel?
It's in the same sorrel family, but it's not. They're not the same type.
Taste different?
They taste a little different,
Similar.
not a lot different, but just I can tell a difference in them. But I've eaten them raw a lot of times. I'll just grab a handful and eat it, especially if I'm thirsty, because it'll make your mouth water.
Does these have the oxalic acid?
It does. It's in the oxalis family, so it does have oxalic acid in
So I was
it.
reading, the
starting like, should I pull that?
Yeah.
Right? And I was looking it up, and it said that that the Native Americans used to chew on it while they're walking
Yeah.
because it satisfies their thirst.
It'll make you salivate.
Yeah.
So, all right, does anybody know what this is? This is red clover, not scarlet clover, and red clover is not the deep dark red one, that's crimson clover. I didn't name it, I don't know why they did that. But if you were to eat this blossom, and you're welcome to pull a little piece off of it so that everybody can have a taste, the blossom is very sweet. I'll start one on the other side right now. That's the wood sorrel.
Wood.
See the little pods on that one? I love to just crunch on those little pods.
Oh, yeah.
Now here's our plantain we were talking about. This plantain, I pulled these out of the center. This is actually lance leaf plantain, but these leaves were about that tall. I should have got some of the bigger ones, I didn't think about it. But you can see the ribs on it. This is not my favorite green to eat, simply because it's got a really potent flavor. But that's the lance leaf plantain, not the Plantago rubula or maxima. That's the lance leaf, the one that came from Europe. This one, people think it's the bane of their allergic existence. Right, got any idea what ragweed? Not ragweed. Blooms the same time as ragweed, and this gets blamed. What? Goldenrod. This is edible. Now, not to say that somebody is not going to be allergic to goldenrod, but you would just about have to snort that flower because it's insect pollinated. You'll always see ants and things like that around your goldenrod, and I have a goldenrod that actually smells like licorice. Oh, it's so wonderful. It's called Solidago odora. There's about 600 varieties of goldenrod, and almost every one of them are edible to some degree. Now, once it makes the flower, it's just like when your greens bolt. It's going to be more bitter, or the leaves are going to be tougher. But you could go through and pick just all of these tops like that, chop them up in a salad, make a pesto, and I talk about pestos a lot, but I eat a lot of pesto. I'll leave a jar of it in the refrigerator and just smear it on chicken, or thin it down for a salad dressing, put some vinegar in it for a salad dressing, something like that. So this is actually edible. I'll take the unopened buds, just strip them right off, and put it in like a cornbread, or sprinkle it in a salad. They're not bitter. They actually have a sweet flavor to them. But goldenrod, get to know it. It's a friend, and it's actually an antihistamine. Has an antihistamine reaction in the body. So when you think it's the one thing that you're allergic to, it's actually going to help your allergy. And this is probably in my top 5 remedies that I sell.
Would there be a specific area I might want to put in the flower or vegetable garden as a companion?
Just about anywhere, because it'll grow tall. I have one variety that'll grow 12 feet tall. It's huge, huge. So just, I'll use it as a backdrop in a flower bed, but just be aware that those roots will run.
Oh, okay.
So you may want to just make sure that you, contain it or pull it up, chop the roots so they won't go to the front of the bed, what have you. But those roots will run, because when I try to take it out, it's like you got to chase that root down. Have you ever had to do that? I hate doing that. All right, let's see. Here's another one that we all hate. And it's only this tall now, but it'll get about this tall, and it's got a little burr that we call devil's pitchfork. This is Biden's pilosa. No joke. It's Biden's pilosa. That's the name of it. There's also Biden's frondosa and Biden's bipinnata that are very prolific here. This is very edible. This is actually a staple crop in Africa. It's not a native, but it'll make those little devil's pitchforks. If you know what I'm talking about, it's a little stick pod with 3 prongs on the end, and your dog will come home, or you'll come home covered with them. but the entire plant is edible. The problem is there is an ingredient in this plant that will keep anything else from growing. Just like a black walnut has jugglan. It's not jugglan that's in that. It's another constituent. But it will inhibit. So if it's growing in your beds, I usually just have it like to a side area in the yard so that it can grow by itself, and I can chop it down and use it, or I can pick leaves off of it with my lamb's quarter. It's really good sauteed with lamb's quarter. Everybody familiar with lamb's quarter? I didn't bring a lamb's quarter, but I don't think. Maybe I did.
What do you guys think?
This one? Yeah. This is lamb's quarter. This I pulled up right beside that. And if you'll look at it, this is a hoary plant, H-O-A-R-Y. And hoary is an Old English word for white coating. So if you look at these leaves, you can even pull some of it off. There's a white coating on it. And that's minerals, could possibly be a yeast, but it's H-O-A-R-Y. Hoary, like hoary mountain mint. That word hoary is a description with the meaning white coating. So you'll have a lot of mineral content with that. There's also a lot of oxalic acid. So again, if you have a kidney issue, if you don't have a kidney issue, specifically kidney stones, you can eat a moderate amount of greens that have oxalic acid without a complication. I'm not going to tell you if your doctor has told you not to eat greens. I'm certainly not going to go against your doctor's wishes or tell you to do something your doctor wouldn't agree with. All right, this, very similar to what we have here, but I know this one is wild. Everybody know what this is, right? How's the best way to reproduce your strawberries? Daughters. This is called a daughter. So that right there, you could just take and, like if this one's planted here and it produces a daughter, you could just stick that down in the dirt where you want it and see how long this one is. This is a wild one. It's not the domestic, so the berries on it don't get much bigger than this berry right there. So there'll be a little spot, but boy, you talk about a flavor. Oh, the flavor is so good. But did you know you can make a tea from the flowers of your wild strawberry, even your domestic strawberries? You can make a tea from those leaves and the flowers, but the leaves specifically. If you take your flowers, then you're going to not have strawberries. But you can pull the leaves or pull one leaf, use that, dry those, use those in the wintertime for a vitamin C tea. These have a precursor to vitamin C, so if you simmer it, it's not, or boil it, it's not going to go away. You've heard that, don't boil any type of vitamin C, because that's not true if it's a precursor. Your best sources of vitamin C, by the way, give you a little bit of sad news here. If you're taking a vitamin C supplement, it's probably made from the mold on corn. It's not made from the pretty little lemon that's on the package. It's made from that mold on corn, a bad mold on a GMO corn, by the way. And there's very little actual vitamin C in it. Your best sources of vitamin C, especially in this area, is white pine. Why in this area? Because it's so prolific. We have it everywhere. Vitamin C, and you can take this many needles, gather needles till you can hold a bunch like that. Put that many fresh needles in a quart of water, or put those needles in a jar and pour a quart of water over it. Cover the jar because you want to keep those terpenes and those volatile oils in the jar. And it'll look like a film on top of it. Don't pour that off. That's the good stuff. That's the terpenes. But you'll cover that jar, let it cool, and then drink that all day. And it's wonderful, a huge source of vitamin C. Another source other than strawberry leaves is rose hips. And we have a ton of multiflora rose around here. So you can put on your rose gloves and go out and collect a tiny little BB size rose hips. The bigger one, the huge one, the biggest one is Rosa rugosa. But I have to fight the deer for those. They will get them, and I might get one or two if I'm lucky. And I have a huge Rosa rugosa, and it just keeps spreading. And I don't get rose. And I know they're developing because I see the roses, and I go back, and the rose hips will be gone, and there's deer tracks everywhere. And I know it's too high for the rabbits to jump. I hope I don't have a rabbit that high. So, but anyway, the Rosa rugosa or the multiflora is good for you. Yeah.
Treated water has so much chlorine in it. Does that reduce the medicinal value of?
Filter your water.
Plants.
Filter your water. No offense to anybody if you work for the water department, but Hendersonville water, for a long time I couldn't eat at a restaurant in Hendersonville simply because there was so much fluoride and so many chemicals in the water. And all of the swamp, because we have the bogs here, the bogs are highly polluted. I thought when I saw those birch trees, man, I've got a place to go and harvest or tap birch trees. I'm going to go in Jackson Park and tap all those birch trees and get the birch water. You can tap birch trees just like you would maple trees. It's highly nutritious. And then I found out how polluted the bog water is in there. So I don't tap those trees. But yeah, our water is pretty treated. Fluoride, not fluorine. By the way, do you know what the dose of fluoridated water is? You know what the dose for fluoridated water is? Half a cup. How many people are drinking 6 cups, 12 cups a day, a gallon of water a day, straight from the tap? 10 times, 20 times, 30 times your dose of fluoride. Fluoride will absorb into the bones. 40% of the people, I just read this recently, 40% of adults have something called fluorosis, which is where the calcium is replaced by fluoride out of your bones. So, and fluoride is a very detrimental chemical. It's a leftover from World War II, very profitable. Where does it need to go? We got to do something. We can't stop making it because we'd lose too much money. So let's put it in American water systems. Sorry, I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I bought a water filter for my hose that's meant for like RVs to make potable water. So you can actually, it's cheap. It was like $20 for 2 of them, and you can put the filter on your hose so that you're not putting chlorinated water in your plants.
And if you are,
It's like an RV filter to make potable water.
if you are using a Berkey filter, which is probably one of the most popular water filters, it's a big silver container. It's really pretty. It looks nice, and you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm doing great things. Look at me, I'm getting my water out of a silver container. It's actually stainless steel. But it's good. It says it's good for 3,000 gallons. The NSF, which is the something water, something treat, we test water.com, you know, the NSF tested it, and it stopped filtering at 100 gallons. And they advertise it at 300 gallons. So make sure your water filter is treated with, or is checked by NSF. I have a zero water. It's a pitcher type, and I put all my water in the pitcher, and I'll drink it from the pitcher. So.
We distill our water,
Distilling
all
is
of our water,
good.
and then we mineralize.
That would be good, to mineralize it back. I teach a class on tooth mineralization too, and so we talk about mineral water there. So you know what this is? I don't know what time it is. How long have we got?
10 after 2.
Okay, a few more minutes? So you know what this is? This is lyre leaf sage, and you'll see this all over on the side of the roads. So lyre, L-Y-R-E, like a lyre, but it's lyre leaf sage. That's actually in the mint family, because why?
Square stem and alternating leaves.
All right, the last two we'll talk about. I've got a couple more here, but we'll just talk about 2. This one, does anybody recognize that top? This might be the bane of your existence, one of the banes of your existence in a garden. This is yellow dock or curly dock.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful seeds that will come. This is a biennial plant. Wonderful seeds, a big brown stalk full of leaves. Full of seeds. Great. The seeds are wonderful, and it's a bread additive, it's a flour additive, and you don't even have to winnow them. The husk off of it, you can just take the husk and everything, grind it up. The root, extremely good for liver. So if you're having liver issues or you want to detox your liver, this plant roots are wonderful. So you may know what this is. This is a false dandelion, but it's called cat's ear. And the reason it's called cat's ear is because that supposedly looks like a cat's ear. But this is a false dandelion. The way you know it's not dandelion is it has multiple flowers, multiple stems on the multiple stems that branch off. and the stem is not truly hollow. It kind of looks like it is. But you can break these wherever the tender point is and saute these up like spaghetti.
Does the base of that, is it dark green and kind of broadleaf and low to the ground?
Yep, grows on a rosette in a
That's what's in my
field.
yard.
Yep, and they're delicious. I used to make, my
Yes, I eat 'em.
son, he's 35 now, he used to eat plates of spaghetti, green spaghetti, because I would saute it in a butter sauce. Oh, and by the way, the reason I picked these little buds on these daisies, talk about it, who likes a lemon piccata sauce? Like chicken lemon piccata, something like that with lemon and butter and white wine and capers and caper juice. Makes the best capers. Daisy bud capers. Now it'll take you all day to gather up a jar of tiny little buds to get a whole jar of capers, but you have to ration them out. You get 3 on your piece of chicken.
You eat these
All right,
flowers too?
do what?
You eat these flowers
The
too?
flowers, yeah. I like to make the spaghetti without the opened bud. I'll just put those in a salad. But where you break it, now later on in the season, it gets stiffer closer to the top. So they'll be real short. The little stems will be real short. But early in the season, like March and April, you'll get a stem like that off of it. So that's when it really looks like spaghetti. One more, I think. I've got a couple. Well, that's lemon balm. Y'all know what lemon balm is. All right, this one. Let me see if I can lay these out. It's got a leaf like this. It's actually got 3 leaves on it. One looks like a ripe mitten, one looks like a closed mitten, and then the other one looks like kind of like that. Like that. Sassafras. What do you make with sassafras? Tea. Tastes like a root beer. It's in the root beer,
Sarsaparilla?
Well, sarsaparilla is actually smilax, cut briar, the green briar that'll, if as a kid running through a field, it would just rip your leg up. Those little tips are edible, but the root on greenbrier is sarsaparilla. But you can use that root and sassafras root. And by the way, in case anybody wonders about that poor little rat that they tested to find out that saffron would cause you cancer, that poor little rat, Harry, whatever his name was, had a goiter because they gave him the equivalent of 4 gallons a day to test him to see. And coincidentally, here we go, I'm sorry, it's a conspiracy. Coincidentally, back in the 70s when they did this test, you had Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, or you had a root beer, like A&W, different things like that. You didn't have Mountain Dew, Mellow Yellow, things like that. So they used sassafras root to make the root beer. Well, there was an artificial root beer chemical that came out about the time they tested that poor little rat. And just oddly enough, real sassafras caused cancer at that point. So you had to go with that artificial sassafras flavor. So, and it's just pure coincidence that that happened at the same time. So,
And is that a tree?
that's a tree. The leaf there, if you'll crush it and smell it, it's got this beautiful fragrance, and that's what you actually use. You just lay those leaves out and let them dry, and then powder that for filet gumbo seasoning. That's a wonderful seasoning. It makes a thickener, like you would use okra to thicken. So, any questions?
Can you use that then to thicken any kind of sauce or gravy?
It's going to have a flavor. So they just always liked it best with the seafood, where seafood was plentiful, but you can use it with ham or corn chowder or anything like that. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much. I'll be glad to answer any questions or talk to you about other plants